Welcome everyone back to Truth, Lies and Hair Ties. I'm basically a hair artist that set up a channel last year. You can try and follow along, pick up some ideas, or simply listen to this story. As you can see, I've already parted my hair where I need it to, so don't worry, this isn't the last look of the hairstyle today. Okay, so we're actually going to talk about this documentary, and it's crazy because in the other video I thought it was a new documentary movie that had come out, but actually it's been out since 2009, and I can't believe that I hadn't really heard about it before then. And I know a lot of people have recently watched it as well, so yeah, I couldn't believe it. And it was about as fun as I thought it would be when watching it. Fascinating and amazing, but let's start from the beginning. In Taiji, which is this little place in Japan, and they call it the drive hunts because they managed to drive the dolphins into a bay or a cove. And how they do that is they sort of have like these metal poles that are stuck on the side of their boat, and they bang on the poles, which obviously make a very loud noise under the water. And dolphins are very, very sensitive to sound. So this is obviously quite confusing for them. Quite a few of them will get sold to like dolphinarians or marine parks, and the others will be slaughtered for meat. Yeah, lovely. And this would actually go on for 6 months out of the year. So as you can imagine, they kill quite a lot of them. I think it was the Humane Society website that I looked on, and it can be up to 18,000 per year, which I thought was an awful lot of dolphins to be selling on or killing. And it's the world's biggest hunt. Now, in the documentary, you know, they do sort of touch on the reasons for it, you know, why are they doing it? And obviously every country has a different tradition, and they say that this is their tradition. It's something that's been going on for a long time. It's their livelihood. So I thought, well, let's look up and see if the fishermen have, you know, written an article or said something. And before it actually talked about this fisherman, it said they finally break their silence. So since the documentary, they sort of went underground and didn't say a word, didn't speak up at all. Which I thought, if you didn't think that you were doing something wrong, or you were more than okay with the fact that you were doing this, then surely why didn't you stand up for yourself back in 2009? You know, you could have said, oh, look, this is our way of life. We're really sorry if you don't like it. We've been doing it for generations. But there was just nothing until this. And so one of the fishermen said, killing dolphins and other small whales, fishermen are continuing a tradition that enabled their ancestors to survive before the days of mass transport and the availability of other sources of nutrition. Right, so you don't need to be doing this anymore then? It's basically said about the history, right, the ancestors, and I'm guessing back then it was out of necessity, right, because perhaps the whole town was starving hungry and they really needed to kill these dolphins and whales. So yes, now with other modes of transport, they can get food from other towns. In fact, they can import from different countries if they're really desperate. So you're thinking, well, that basically states the fact that yes, that was a long-standing tradition, but it's not something we continue to do now because we don't really need to. They don't even get much money for the meat. They actually get more money selling the dolphins. But this is where I was a bit confused. They say it's a tradition to kill these dolphins for selling the meat for all the townspeople. What's that got to do with you selling them to the marine parks? Because I know in other countries they prey on a certain animal or meat, before they, you know, make the sacrifice. They pray to the god and they say thank you for this food. And of course, I think it's in India, their sacred animal is the cow. So to them, these are sacred animals. Yes, they are a source of food, but they still respect the animals. So I think if someone came up and said, hey, you've got 2 cows there, but you actually only need 1 for a while. Can we buy the other one? We're going to take it to an entertainment park. Well, they'll be a slave for, I don't know, about 20 years. I'm pretty sure they'd say, no, I'm really sorry, but these are sacred animals. You know, yes, we kill, but we eat them. You're wanting to sell them to, you know, entertain people. That's not our tradition. That is not our way of life. So that's where I struggle with it slightly. Yes, granted. I mean, what was funny in the documentary, they said, okay, how about for this season, I don't know if it was hypothetical, I think it probably was, we will give you the money from selling the meat and selling the dolphins. Would you go for it? They said, oh, it's not about the money. Not about the money, it's all about the tradition. Yeah, well, it's clearly about the money because you're selling them to marine parks and you're getting like 18,000 US dollars for 1 dolphin. So you're like, yeah, it's kind of about the money though, isn't it? Rick went around the rest of the country, like went around Japan and was like, oh, you know, so what do you think about eating dolphin meat and what goes in it, you know, what goes on at Taiji? And all of them were like, we don't eat dolphin. I don't eat dolphin. I've never eaten it. And you know what goes on at Taiji? So you're thinking, actually, is it just these small towns that are eating these dolphins, and not even the rest of the country know about it? So you're like, why are you actually still killing so many each year? But another theory is it's to kill the competition. Because of course, what else did Japan eat? Fish. A hell of a lot of fish. But of course, if there's animals out there eating the fish, let's say, I don't know, dolphins, then they aren't going to make as much profit. So are they just simply taking out the competition? And I just feel like they're heavily relying on this kind of tradition excuse, rather than actually trying to find something else that they can make money from. As I said, I think back then it was out of necessity, but things have changed now. Things have progressed. So I just think these small, and then as Rick said, it's not loads and loads of people, it's actually just these small groups of fishermen that are still carrying on with it. So it's not like it's a whole country when not even the others know about it. I would like to respect traditions in other countries that perhaps I don't agree with. But after watching the documentary and the footage, you just realise there are different ways of doing it. There are better ways of doing it. And I would prefer, not that I want them all to be in captivity, but I would prefer them to just take, you know, a few and sell them, because they would still, even with a couple, make a lot of money, you know, and let the others go. Okay, so how they're supposed to kill these dolphins, being, you know, as humane as possible, is they're supposed to, if you're a bit squeamish, I wouldn't probably listen to this, it's not particularly nice, but they're supposed to drive a metal spike into their neck. I think it's just behind the blowhole, and that severs the spinal cord, and they should die in like a couple of seconds. And of course that means that there won't be as much sort of blood coming out as well, because I think they also put something in that hole as well, so you know, to sort of keep it, yeah, I guess as humane as possible. But now we're going to talk about what I actually saw. So they were able to go sort of undercover, because they had got these cameras that they'd sort of hidden in fake rocks and things, and they managed to get a couple of free divers to go down at night time and place a camera underwater. There was some in the trees, because of course no one actually got to see what went on at this, you know, well, it's dubbed the Killing Cove. And anyone can actually go down to see the fishermen bring the dolphins into the bay or the cove. But what they don't see is the slaughter, because that's when they take them round the corner. And no one is actually able, you know, was able before 2009 to get footage of it. And as I said, I wasn't really looking forward to watching this part, because I knew it was not going to be very nice. But it was actually worse than I thought it was going to be. It was so much worse that it actually did bring tears to my eyes. I don't know, I don't cry at loads and loads of things unless it's a really soppy movie. And, you know, this was a documentary. So I don't know, I think, yeah, it took me by surprise actually quite a lot. So what they had, again, if you're a bit squeamish, you might not want to listen to these details, so you might want to cut, you know, 5 minutes after. To me, everything about it looked completely inhumane. It was like a horror scene times 10. You know, when you see, oh, I don't know, in a shark movie or something, and, you know, the shark comes up and grabs his victim and you see a little bit of blood, you know, in the water. Well, imagine, no matter where you look, the surrounding boats, all of the water is red. Every single part of the water in that cove turned red. And I don't mean like, oh, could you just see like a really dark colour in the water? No, it was crimson. And I think that was also really shocking, that there must have been so much blood spilt that it turned the entire water in that cove to red. And I didn't really see metal spikes. I saw sort of arrows that were stuck on a, I don't know, like a wooden thing or something, and they would just jab them in the water. I didn't see them going, oh yes, let me be very precise about where I need to put this, you know. And I thought maybe they would have two people in the water that would hold the dolphin up against the boat, whilst the other in the boat finds where they need to specifically put this spike and get it right the first time. No, they're just stabbing them. If they're anywhere near the boat, they're just stabbing them. And I guess thinking, right, well, eventually they'll die when they're on the boat. And how they got them on the boat was they had these hooks. So that was like another metal thing with a hook on the end. And they would stab the dolphin to hook it into the boat. Stab to get on. So as you can imagine, the first one would be here to get it up a little bit, and then they'd hold the dolphin with the other hand and then keep hooking. It's not like they just hooked it once. And so this dolphin may have been stabbed about 3 or 4 times, or hooked 3 or 4 times in order to get it in the boat. And you know that it's still alive, so it hasn't died within a few seconds. And Rick also said he's seen a dolphin where it's taken 4 minutes. It's taken 4 minutes to die. And it was just horrendous. I remember there was, I think this might have been from the camera that was quite low down, and you could see these dolphins flailing around, and then this boat just comes up and kind of runs over 2 of them. You can actually see the boat ramming into this dolphin. You know, it's not like respecting the animals or being careful or, you know, like treating it as a sort of tradition, religion type of anything. It was just a horrid slaughter scene. And I can't even imagine what it would have been like for them, knowing that not only their entire pod, but, you know, obviously other friends that they know or whatever, is being, you know, completely killed off. The sheer panic, the absolute sheer panic of what the hell is going on here. Yeah, it was shocking. It was really, really shocking, and just so unnecessary the way that they were doing it. There was actually, I think it was a few days beforehand. So as I said, you're allowed to go down and view the dolphins coming in. You can take pictures as well, but you will always have someone there who's not happy with it, like, oh, you know, standing in the way, making sure that you can't get a good picture. Because obviously a lot of animal activists do go down there. And as I said, the team in this documentary sort of hired or got on board these two free divers to help place the cameras at nighttime. And beforehand, they said, well, let's go down, you know, just so you can see sort of what goes on. And they saw the boats go round the corner to obviously do the slaughtering. And it was the woman on the documentary, she said, I could see that one of the dolphins had managed to escape from the slaughtering behind, you know, around the corner. And it came up, I think it was a striped one. I don't think it was a bottlenose. And it managed to get over into where they were viewing, leaving a long trail of blood behind. And the way that it was behaving wasn't normal. You know, it was trying to come up and then it would go down and then it would come up, and it was flailing around. It looked like a survivor from a horror movie. It really did. But it only surfaced a few times before it's obviously just sank to the bottom and died. And she got really choked up about that. I mean, that was horrible to watch as well. That really was awful. And you're like, how is that humane? And I thought, you know what? Let's look up the absolute definition of humane. Having or showing compassion or benevolence. And underneath it says, regulations ensuring the humane treatment of animals. Well, you can watch that footage and tell me what looks humane about that. Now I'm going to show one photo that I found online. There are lots. I don't think I need to show lots. If you want to see it all, then feel free. And I'm not going to put any sort of dolphin up there. I'm actually just going to put a picture up of the colour of the water. And that's all I'm going to show. So when I said, you know, quite a few of them beforehand, they will get picked out by marine parks, or, you know, the perfect ones to use for shows and everything. So what are the marine parks that buy these dolphins? One name comes to mind, and I thought, I've got to see if they ever bought dolphins from Taiji, and of course they did. And that's SeaWorld. Yeah, they got some dolphins from there. Now I don't know, because a lot of the marine parks, they would actually send someone from the company down to sort of pick out the nice ones, or whether someone would just go down there, buy the nice ones and then sell them off later. But even if that happened, I'm pretty damn sure that all the marine parks would know what was going on. And it was actually John Hall, who is a former marine biologist at SeaWorld, who said, oh yeah, SeaWorld, they've been in business with the fisheries at Taiji, which means that not only them, but quite a few others have actually supported the killing of dolphins, but they're supposed to be helping and protecting animals. Right. I think it's very hard to think, oh yes, but maybe they didn't know what went on there. I don't think so. Mind you, this was in the 80s, and a lot of that stopped pretty much at the end of the 80s. The US government decided, right, we're not going to import any dolphins that are associated, with the dolphin drive hunts, those specific ways of capturing, because they also know that they are slaughtered as well. So, but this was quite funny. I thought, right, I'm going to look up, perhaps SeaWorld has said a statement about this or anything, and I did find one. A spokesman from SeaWorld called Fred Jacobs said, SeaWorld did not stop purchasing dolphins from drives in Japan on moral or ethical grounds. We stopped buying and have not resumed, not because we are ashamed, but it is not something that we cared to be involved with anymore. Right. Yeah, because of what goes on there. Because you know what's going on there. The fact that activists are making a huge thing about it. I was like, with all the lawyers and everything that they've got, I can't believe they actually didn't come up with a better excuse. The fact that they said they don't care to be involved makes you think you don't want to be associated with them anymore because of what goes on there. I mean, they could have said, oh, we're going in a different business direction. Yes, actually, we don't need any more dolphins at the moment. Or there are some dolphins that need to be helped out in other countries, so actually we don't need to buy them. I mean, they just could have come up with so many different excuses. But that just sounds like we're not buying from there anymore. Not because we think it's wrong. We just don't want to anymore. I mean, they didn't actually even come up with an answer. Which really surprised me. I was really expecting that, I'm sure they'll come up with a good excuse as to why. But I was like, that's actually quite horrendous. And I wanted to see what other marine parks, I'm sure there were, because there were loads more worldwide, but I think these are just the ones I found that were in the US. Here we go. The US Marine Mammal Inventory recorded that Miami Seaquarium, which is where Lolita is, Sea Life Park Hawaii, and the US Navy have imported cetaceans from Japan. And of course, as I said, that's just the ones that I've looked up. I'm sure there are many more. And even though the US sort of stopped in the 80s, these drives are still going on today. These are still happening today, which means that there are still obviously marine parks that are more than happy to be associated with Taiji and, don't have a problem with it. But also, they found that the dolphins are full of mercury and other really bad toxins to the level that is unsafe for human consumption. They were like, oh my God, what? And actually on the documentary, they were like, well, where are they selling this meat to if actually not many people eat it? Well, one of the places they sell it is at the Whale Museum. You can actually watch a show of dolphins playing around whilst eating dolphin. Quite a few things wrong with that, I think. But also, you could go to the supermarket there and buy some really expensive whale meat. And one of the guys in the documentary analysed it and found out that it was in fact dolphin meat. Yeah, well, we know that goes on quite a bit. Didn't we have horse meat at some point? Yeah, quite a few years ago. But anyway, so perhaps that's how they're managing to actually sell this. But as I said, yeah, mercury, not great. And all the other toxins in there, they had PCBs, which I spoke about in another episode. There was a killer whale who was just full of all these toxins, and they're found in, what was it, in like copy paper, in electrical equipment, in coolant fluids, and loads of other things. They found that in animals it can cause cancer. For humans, there are also links to cancer, but it can, for pregnant women, cause birth defects, and that child might have lower cognitive ability and motor control problems. And apparently it can also cause liver damage as well. So not really great for humans. So, I mean, it would be nice, wouldn't it, to think, oh, maybe the fishermen have no idea about that. But this has been going on for quite a while now, and obviously this documentary's been out for ages, and I'm pretty damn sure that all of them watched it, so they would know, and yet they're still doing it. So you're like, well, hang on, if now people know that it's got mercury in it, they're probably not eating it, so why are you still, you know, slaughtering all of these dolphins? Like, there's actually not a reason for it anymore. But I realised from that documentary, it is difficult being an activist. As I said, these cameramen and these other people would get right up into their face and, you know, be like, get away sort of thing, and stop taking pictures. And then Rick said, you know, he's obviously, gosh, he's got himself into lots of sticky situations and managed to survive. But there have been a long list of animal activists who have been killed, basically, which I might do a video on, to sort of unearth what can happen if you try and stand up for what you believe in. It depends, you know, I think what countries you go to as well. I mean, Rick's been banned from Taiji, God knows how many times. He still manages to sneak in though. But I think it's easier at the moment because everyone's wearing a mask. So they had, I guess you could sort of call it a whaling committee in this documentary, where sort of a representative of each country is sort of having this massive, huge meeting about, you know, the dolphins, the whaling, everything really. And the camera actually goes on quite a few of the members there, and they're asleep. Yeah, they are completely, utterly out for the count. And you're thinking, oh, wow, well, a lot's going to get done in this meeting, isn't it? And that's when you realise that actually someone like Rick has done so much more than all of these people put together that are having a meeting specifically about these problems or topics, and yet nothing is being done about it. And that's, I think, for people out there, that's when you realise one person can make a difference. It's an amazing documentary. I, you know, definitely recommend watching it, but have a few tissues ready, because yeah, I don't want to, you know, give away too much. There's lots of other information and things that went on and happened there as well. So they also have a long whaling history, and I think actually my next video might be about what they used to do with the whales back then as well. Probably not another nice video to watch out there. Again, I think there's a few documentaries about it which I'll watch as well. Now, I think in a few other, I think it was in another video where I used some chains to decorate, and I'm going to do that again today. Thank you very much for watching, and feel free to watch the Cove, the documentary. I think it's on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's included. You might be able to find another place to view it. And yes, I think next time I will talk about the whaling that goes on in Taiji, or used to go on a while ago. All right, well, until next time, bye.